I, Charles Agbeve,
swear by the Almighty God
swear by the Almighty God
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
touching the matter in issue
shall
be the truth,
the
whole truth,
truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the
So
truth.
help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you very much, Honorable Charles Agbeve. You were not here. Were you here when we watched the video? You watched part of it. Please, did you see a gentleman who looks like you in the video?
It was me, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, thank God it was you. We've looked at the members of the appointment committee, and we didn't find your name in the list. Now, what were you doing here on the 30th of January?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the 9th Parliament does not have a select committee on health. I was a member of the select committee of health in the 8th Parliament. And so the Chief Whip informed us, pursuant to Order 217, Section 5, subject matter members will be invited. And so I was invited by Chief Whip together with Dr. Sebastian Sandari. I recall the then Deputy Ranking, Dr. Mark Nawani, and Honorable Hutoje, that the 4 of us should make ourselves available. When we come, then 2 of us, our names will be given to the chairman as subject matter members. So that's why I found myself here.
So what happened on that fateful day, since you were here as a member on subject matter committee? What happened here?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I recall I was seated where the Joy FM microphone was. And I came in before Honorable Akando took his seat because he was informed that right after Honorable nominee designate for transport, he would take his seat. So I took my seat. Next to me was Dr. Sandari, and we were comparing notes, what we were going to be asking the nominee. So when Honorable Akando was called to take his seat, he immediately sat down. The minority started agitating that we won't agree. We won't agree. Then the chairman requested that the clerk administer the oath. Immediately, he asked the clerk to administer the oath. The minority leader started yelling harsh words at the clerk. That you, the clerk again, you partisan clerk. In fact, it was quite unpalatable. All this while I was seated watching. Then arise that they all got up and had 3 of their microphones on. Now, when you have more than 2 microphones on, no other microphone can be switched on. So it was difficult for Honorable Akando and the clerk to administer the oath. So that was the first strategy they used to actually block the administering of the oath.
You said that was a strategy they used to block.
Yes, because
who used that strategy to block?
Honorable, the minority chief whip. He quickly pressed on the consoles. And once you press 1 or 2 or 3 consoles, you cannot get a 3rd or 4th console working. And that was how come whatever he said was heard loud. Because he had his microphone on, he had the 2nd one next to him on, he had the 3rd one far away from him on. And because of that, the oath could not be administered. So anything he said was now loud, and all of us were hearing it. Then the pulling of the table started. In fact, the first thing that happened was the pulling of the table. When the table was pulled, the chairman was still seated. The console right in front of him is where you are, where your console is. It's exactly where his console was. when it was put, because it was sitting on both tables, it fell. And once it fell, we saw the damage. Then I saw my chief whip here. And I saw my chief whip. In fact, before then, Honorable Jerry had come here to try and stop the oath being administered. But I saw 2 colleague MPs, in fact, first-timers, push him off, so I couldn't go there. But when I saw my chief whip being attacked by Honorable Tampuli, I could no longer sit on my chair. So I moved to go and separate them because I thought it was getting out of hand. When I got there, I seen Majority Leader already there separating them. So now, I decided to take advantage to switch off their consoles so that the oath can be administered. It was there I realized that, the thing has gone beyond just switching on the consoles. The plugs have all been pulled out. So I tried fixing them. In fact, at a point in time, if you watch me, I was asking Honorable Akando and the clerk to try switching their own on because I had fixed 2. But they could try it, it was not working. So I tried the 3rd one. That was when I saw the table coming towards me because I was in the middle there. My colleagues were pushing the table and it was coming. And I saw that there was danger. So I jumped and sat on the table because it was going to hit me actually. If you watch the video, I jumped and sat on the table and then helped the table to come and fix at its place. We were all doing this just to get the vetting done and also protecting state property. When I got onto the table, before I realized, this time around, the table had moved and it was in the air. The police then came in and I told colleagues, like, let's move to our place. Let's move. Once the police have come in, I don't think we need to continue staying here. So we moved, and then I came back to my sitting position. And so that's what brought me into the center of the action. First, the attack on my chief whip, who I thought was unfairly being attacked, and I needed to go separate and possibly rescue him, and then also try to fix the microphones that had been pulled out.
Thank you very much for that account. I watched the video, but I didn't know the intention behind. I thought you were also trying to pull the table and, removing cables. But now that you have explained it, we'll further watch the video. I'll leave my colleagues to ask questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Honorable colleague, did you see and experience breaches, various breaches in this room?
Honorable Chair, there were a lot of breaches, a lot. Before I could access the building, it was difficult to pass through the site. In fact, it was virtually impossible. So I had to go down, move through the downstairs, and then come up through this section. Because the numbers on the corridor and in the room was just unbearable. We had almost, I think if I'm not mistaken, 4 of the nominees' supporters all packed here. And that was the first breach because, as far as I know, when you finish yours, you must move out. But those who were yet to be vetted had all their supporters up here. And that was the first breach I saw. The second breach I also saw was we were too many in the hall. This is the first breach was outside. Inside the vetting room itself, all the alleys of where the visitors were supposed to sit were packed. People were standing. And I thought it was just too much. And so the air conditions were rendered useless. The room was really, really hot that day. Then the third breach I also saw, I thought in Parliament, I've witnessed what happened in 2017 on the floor. I had witnessed what happened when the E-levy issue came up. And I thought we had embarrassed ourselves too much in public. And this should not happen ever again in this chamber or this house. So I thought when the minority were protesting that they would not be part of it, the normal thing the minority groups always do is to walk out and do a press conference. And like what the minority will say, let them carry their sins. That's what they normally do. But this time around, what I realized was that they insisted to stay and make sure nothing happens. And once that position is taken, it's obviously going to be conflict. Because we had also taken an entrenched position that the vetting will continue. And so, obviously, it was going to be a breach. And once that is breached, conflict. Then finally, because we had so many supporters in the hall, and we had started a scuffle, if the police had not come in early, they may have been encouraged to join, because they came here to support a nominee. Fortunately, when Jerry came here, Honorable Jerry came here, he was pushed away. So they were now around the nominee, including 2 other MPs, supporting him. And so if the fight had continued, and then they were identifying that we those here were now moving in, they would have joined us. And it would have been too bad. I thought we could have averted it. If Mr. Chairman will allow me, the following day, when the nominee was invited and asked to come for vetting, I realized that there was absolute calm here. Only 10 members were invited, and only 10 Saturday. And so you could see clearly that there was clear sanity on this side until the minority walked in and started again. But this time around, we managed to handle it and had Honorable Akando vetted. And so these were the breaches I saw.
All right, thank you very much for your viewpoint and for your rendition. Moving forward, what would you, because you are here in this space, and you saw what happened and you experienced it, what would you recommend moving forward in terms of, you mentioned a bit about what maybe could be done, but moving forward with your experience and going through appointment committees, seeing these things done, what do you think should be done? And also maybe with crowd management, because now we have moved from just visitors to crowds. If you say the corridor was choked, then I wonder what was happening even on the ground, outside. Because usually people struggle to want to come upstairs to see what is happening and what things. And what is your view on that?
Thank you very much. From what I have observed, once your name is mentioned, if you are not careful, the whole constituency will descend here in Parliament to come and witness your vetting. You can only manage with a few numbers. When you manage with those few numbers, others will find their way in here anyway. So you can't stop the crowd. What I think we can do is to still maintain the 10 that must come into the hall. What you can do is to keep the large crowd at the new member center, where we had our registration done for our tax. Keep a very big screen there and restrict every other visitor to that point. Because even moving all the way into this square here is a security risk to our work here and to the workers of the parliamentary services and ourselves. But when you keep them down with a very big screen where they could watch what is going on here live, and where they can be entertained and refreshed, I don't think we'll have too much problem. The crowd management will be far, 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 far better. And that is one recommendation I think Parliament needs to look into moving forward. Because whether you like it or not, you can't stop the crowd. They will find their way here at all costs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable, let me find out from you. You decided to be a peacekeeper because the police were not here. Could we have averted the situation if the police had come in earlier?
The situation would have been much better. The situation would have been much better. Before the police came in, I saw the marshals, the two, but they were helpless. What I saw they did quickly was to get the chairman out. That's the first deputy speaker, to get him out and protected. Then they came back to see how they can manage the situation before the police came in. The presence of the police tried to calm down the situation, first of all by stopping others from joining in, and then also trying to stop other government properties from being destroyed. But our minority colleagues were putting chairs on the tables. And when our colleagues removed them, they put them back. I didn't get there to remove a chair from the table. But when the police came in, they tried stopping them from putting the chairs on the table and further stopped them from getting further consoles destroyed. And so I thought the response of the police could have been much quicker. Then number two, there were police around. But these were bodyguards of MPs. And so they are restricted to certain situations. And so they were interested in protecting their MP than coming in to separate a brow. And so you could see them all visibly around in uniform, but they were not taking part in any of the separation until the police from the unit, parliamentary police unit, came in.
Well, are you impressed with the numbers that came? The number of police personnel that responded, were you okay with that?
Considering the crowd outside and what was inside, I don't think the number was enough. Because it was a crowd situation, and anything at all could have happened. I would say, because it was late, we didn't have more colleagues coming in. We, those who were here, and a few who later saw what was happening, that came in. By the time they came in, most issues have been resolved. By then, majority leader was talking to the press. So I was thinking more policemen could have been deployed to ensure that absolute sanity prevailed. But the police were also a bit careful. This is a member of parliament. He's taking a chair and putting it on the table. How do you handle it? So you can see, even in trying to handle that, there was some diplomacy in going about it. So he waits. When the member of parliament puts the chair on the table, then he goes for it. When the member of parliament wants to come for the chair again, then he shields him from taking the chair. It was a difficult situation for them.
Honorable Member, I saw our revered citizen, Honorable Ostengame. Did you see him?
Yes, I saw him. I saw him at the corner.
And what was he doing?
Honorable Ostengame was a visitor. I saw him seated here. So when the whole thing started, initially, he moved in there and tried speaking to, I think, the minority leader and the chief whip, minority chief whip. But my attention was then taken to another member trying to put a chair on the table and trying to pull a table. So I didn't know what transpired again. But I saw him very clearly trying to calm things down.
Chairman, I believe that this revered man should be invited as well to testify because, you know, he's an expert within that space. So I suggest that let's get him to be involved.
Thank you very much.
Honourable Chair, thank you. Honourable colleague, you did mention the crowding in the corridor. Were people's ID cards being checked in order to have access to this building, based on how you managed to access the building? Did you observe people's tags being checked, people's identification tags or invitations being checked?
Thank you very much, Chair, for the question. I didn't come through the main door downstairs. I came through the back door from Annex. And so when I climbed, I saw a colleague on the first floor. So I walked with him. He was going towards the new, the entrance. So I escorted him to that position before I climbed through that side. So I didn't come through the staircase, through the main entrance, no. So I wouldn't know what security measure was there at the entrance. But when I climbed out, I didn't see any visible visitors' tags on them. And the truth is, some were chiefs with their entourage protecting them. And so when I was trying to push my way through, they saw my tag visibly, but they will not budge, they will not give way. And so I didn't want to push further, so I just went downstairs. I know my way around, so I went down the next floor and then climbed up to the other end. But there were no visible tags on them.
Thank you. My final question, you mentioned that this corridor was packed. Did you find non-members on any other floors as you tried to make your way into the vetting room?
They were on the staircase, not on the floor, but on the staircase.
There are two sets of staircases. Which one?
The one used through the main entrance.
Correct. Very well. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Honorable Charles Agbeve, for attending upon this committee. When we need you, we'll call you again. Thank you, and you are honorably discharged.